You know that sinking, just paralyzing dread you can feel about the state of the world? And then, maybe just hours later, you get that exact same frustrating feeling during a fight over something tiny, like a grocery bill? Well, it turns out those two feelings are way more connected than you'd think. Okay, let's get into it. So, picture this. On one side, you've got this massive existential problem. I mean, you wake up and the sky is literally orange from wildfires. You can't ignore that. And on the other side, you've got this super personal, repetitive drama. Another fight with your partner about buying pre-cut pineapple. One feels impossibly huge, the other feels ridiculously small, but you know what? They can both leave you feeling completely and utterly stuck. And that feeling of being trapped by a problem that's just too big to solve, man, it is powerful. It's that eco-anxiety, that climate dread, where it really feels like the world is ending and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. The doom scrolling kicks in and you just feel helpless. And that very same exhaustion, that feeling of being totally worn down, it shows up in our daily lives too. This quote just nails it, right? That feeling of being ground down by the same argument day in and day out. Because it's not really about the pineapple, is it? It's about feeling unheard, misaligned, and just completely drained by a fight that feels like it will never, ever end. It sounds like a joke, doesn't it? One is a potential apocalypse, the other is a tropical fruit. But the link between them, well, that is the secret to managing both of these anxieties. See, the connection isn't in the problems themselves. It's about how they make us feel. It's a deep psychological link that's rooted in some of the biggest questions we face just by being human. Okay, this is the core insight right here. Both the dread about the climate and that recurring fight about money trigger the exact same emotional response. A deep, deep sense of paralyzing helplessness. You feel like nothing you do could possibly matter. So why even try? But just recognizing this shared feeling, that's the first step toward a whole new way of handling it. And this is where a psychological framework called existentialism becomes so incredibly useful. It's a way of thinking that doesn't try to give you easy, feel-good answers. Instead, it helps us wrestle with the tough, unavoidable parts of being human, like how do you find meaning when everything feels totally out of your control? And this leads to a huge mental shift. Let's be real, you can't single-handedly solve climate change, and you and your partner might never, ever completely stop disagreeing about money. So the question changes. What if we stop trying to find some final, perfect solution, and instead we just learn how to live with these ongoing dilemmas? So what do we do with that? Well, this brings us to a really practical playbook. By taking what we know about handling both these types of anxiety, we can build a simple, unified framework that honestly works for pretty much any overwhelming feeling. It really just boils down to 3 straightforward steps. First, you just acknowledge what you're feeling without any judgment. Second, you open up a dialogue about it. You talk. And third, you find one small, meaningful action you can take to get back a little bit of control. And check this out. The advice for both of these big issues lines up perfectly with this playbook. For climate dread, you admit you're anxious, you talk to other people who get it, and you find a small local project to contribute to. For money fights, you recognize your partner's anxiety, you set up a money date to talk things through, and you create a small personal fund for some autonomy. You see the pattern, right? It's the same exact approach. Okay, so let's put this playbook into action. We're going to move from theory back to our original examples, the orange sky and the pineapple. So, you're looking at that orange sky. Step 1. Acknowledge. You just say to yourself, wow, I feel completely helpless right now. Step 2, dialogue. You text a friend who you know feels the same way. Step 3, act. You take 5 minutes to look up a local environmental project. And for the pineapple, you acknowledge, I'm feeling really anxious about our spending. You schedule that money date to talk priorities, and then you use your personal, no questions asked fund to just buy the fruit. The fight is over before it even starts. Now, I want to be super clear about something. This playbook isn't going to magically fix the world's climate or solve every money issue in your relationship. That's not the point. Its power is in shifting your internal world. It moves you from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to feeling like an active participant in your own life. It gives you back your sense of agency. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important takeaway here. How you actually move from that awful feeling of helplessness to one of genuine hope and freedom. Look, you don't have to solve everything overnight. In fact, real, authentic change happens when we focus on taking small steps that feel meaningful to us. That is where you find your power.
And these small steps can look totally different for everyone. It might be a 9-year-long project to collect rainwater in Arizona, or designing new hydro dams that actually help fish. Or it could be as simple as setting up a personal $20 no questions asked fund, or just deciding that buying fresh kale every week is a non-negotiable priority for your health. Each step is small, but it's real. It's authentic.
So, as we wrap up, the question I want to leave you with isn't how are you going to solve all your problems tomorrow? The real question is this: when you look at the things that overwhelm you, what is one small, authentic step you can take right now to start reclaiming your sense of agency?